Please stand. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and all the blessings that you bring us every day. We thank you for every person here and those that are virtually joining us. We ask for your guidance in our thoughts and our words and our actions as we take care of the business for our Cherokee citizens. In Jesus' name, amen.
Yes, sir. Rex Jordan. Here. E.O. Smith. Here. Keith Austin. Here. Danny Callison. Here. Julia Coates. Here. Sean Crittenden. Here. Joe Deere. Here. Mike Dobbins. Here. Johnny Kidwell. Here. Darrell Legg.
Here.
Wes Snowfire. Here. Dora Petzkowski. Here. Joshua Sam. Here. Mike Shambaugh. Here. Melvina Shotpouch. Candace Teehee. Victoria Vasquez. We have a quorum.
Is David with us?
Yes, sir. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
That's okay. You're up.
Good afternoon. I hope you're all doing well. I know times are a little trying. You have my report. If I can answer any questions, I'd be more than happy to. If not, I'll get you an answer and get it to you.
Okay. Any questions for David? This may be your lucky day. I don't
Thank
see no
you.
questions.
You all be safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Real Estate Services, Ginger Reeves.
Afternoon. I
Afternoon.
believe you have a copy of my report. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to address them.
Any questions for Ginger? Go ahead.
Hey, Ginger, did we recently purchase the Boy Scout hole, I guess is what I call it when I grew up there, over on Barron Fort?
Cherokee Nation, government is not, I do not know about Cherokee Nation Property Management or any other entity. But not to my knowledge, we did not in this office.
Okay, I just had seen that. I think there was a deed filed that we had made that purchase. Just was unaware if you were aware of it. And then far as the Tahlequah or the Cherokee County Fairgrounds, what's our intention with that purchase?
Corey, you might be able to address that better. I don't know if Corey is on here. But I believe that for training purposes.
Okay. And then are you, because you hold all of the records from what Cherokee Nation purchases and land ownerships are, right? In
We
your
do.
office? Okay.
Nation
Could you provide, if I guess maybe have to do a FOIA request to you, but to get a provided document of what we've purchased in the past 12 to 18 months on properties, because like I said, there's some that are coming up, and I don't even know what we've purchased in the past year or 2 years. It just seems like there's, people will call, hey, Cherokee Nation bought this property. I don't know if we purchased it or not. And it's just a little confusing when there's that much going on, purchases around the area, and we have no knowledge of what we actually own, what we're doing with it, and projects in the future. So I may get that from you, so that way I have a better grasp of it when someone calls. But
I also, on the first item on my report, I always include that as well.
Okay. Yeah, I see that on the planning and future development. So, okay. All right, appreciate it. Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions for Ginger? Thank you, Ginger. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Secretary of Natural Resources and Environmental Programs, Chad Harshall.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the council. I believe you have the environmental programs report in front of you. If you have any questions, I can take that and then move on into my other updates.
Any questions for environmental? Danny?
Mr. Harsher, what are we going to do for tags, like the upcoming spring turkey season and things of this sort for people in that's got the native licenses?
Sure, so I'll go ahead and move into that portion of my report, the update on that. So as of January 1, the Cherokee Nation Hunting and Fishing Code is in effect in the Cherokee Nation. You know, we've put together, as you may have recently saw, a online portal for check-in that's accessible through the Doogie portal that is similar to what collects data similar to what the state requires, and that is this official and formal check-in point for certain games such as deer, turkey, cattlefish, going forward. So we're going to collect that information and use that to help our wildlife management and conservation system that we have in place. So under our current code, we've incorporated the conservation standards adopted by the state because we think they work. And, you know, but we are going to be managing and going at it alone. And so that's always been the expected result at the end, at the expiration of that compact. Unfortunately, we weren't able to come to terms, as I updated quite a bit of detail last month. But as far as what the regulations require, for Cherokee citizens, they will be eligible to hunt and fish within current bag limits and season date with their tribal ID that they get from registration or their tribal citizenship blue card on their person whenever they're out hunting and fishing in the field. There will be no additional tag requirements at this time, and there will be no additional license requirements at this time, although we may issue regulations down the road, you know, to work out certain specifics, such as paddlefish and things of that nature. So when an individual is hunting out in the field, they have to fix their tribal citizenship information, the date of take, time of take, just like you would under the state rules. So not much has changed in terms of opportunities and privileges, but there's been, you know, pretty significant changes in the fact that the combination license that we previously issued jointly with the state is no longer needed, and tribal citizens will hunt with their tribal membership information.
Thank you.
Sean?
Hey, Chad, I just want to make sure I'm understanding this right. With our compact license, we could get, what was it? What did we have, one deer tag and a turkey tag?
Correct.
Okay. All right, now that that's gone away, so we can, whatever the limits are, when you can get a buck, when you can get an antlerless, you know, bow, rifle, muzzle loader, however many deer you can legally get. Do we need a tag to go buy a tag for each of those, or just report that we got one?
You'll just have to report that you have one. Now, whenever you take game out in the field, you'll have to issue a field tag, just like any other person would do when they hunted and fished it under the compact. But in terms of privileges, you'll have as many deer tags and turkey tags that are available in that particular county. You know, you will see, I think, in the future, with turkey, the turkey population is pretty hard. And so there's some counties that are going to be reducing the number of turkey. But you'll have the ability and the privilege to take as many as anyone could. A non-Cherokee, if they had an Oklahoma State license, subject to the season dates, and reporting to our online system.
Okay. Now, last time, you know, you get one deer, right? Then,
Correct.
so as far as tagging it, you had to tag that deer, but that came with our license, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, it's going to be evident that I'm not a big hunter. Spend a lot of times in the woods, in the country, but so now, if I go out and get a deer, like I said, muzzle loader, bow hunt, rifle, I can get all of those, right? With no cost to me.
Correct. And so I think there's two things here that we're talking about together. So when you talk about tagging, field tagging, a specific piece of wildlife is an actual tag that you affix to it so that way you can transport it legally. In terms of checking, where you go onto the online system or the state, or in the past, the state checkpoint, where you would check it in and the state would collect that data, you will now check that through our online portal, and we'll take that information and then use that to inform wildlife.
So there's no
total number that was
no cost at all to the Cherokee hunter.
Correct.
That's a great deal there.
And I would point out that is one of the proposals that we submitted in our compact negotiations was additional, all of the deer tags and turkey tags that are available. But, you know, I guess that doesn't matter too much because it was rejected, but.
That's what we were gonna ask for, right?
Correct,
But in turn now, we have that. Right?
yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chad.
Hey, Chad, just have a quick question. I think the archery season runs through the 15th, is that correct? So if you had a Cherokee Nation hunting license and you bought a state of Oklahoma archery tag, that would no longer be good, would it? I mean, as of the first, because if our license was no good, you would have to go buy a state license for that state tag to be good, because you have to have a hunting license and a tag to harvest a deer. You see what I'm saying?
Right, and so-
You bought it under the guise of having a Cherokee license, we only have 5 days left, so it may not affect anybody, but it could. If you would kill a deer within the next 5 days, if you had your Cherokee, and under the guise of your Cherokee hunting license with a state tag, they no longer recognize our hunting license, so that could potentially be a problem.
So I think the way that you would need to look at it is, so for example, when someone has an Oklahoma lifetime license, they have all of their tags included, right? Whenever they go out and they hunt fish, they don't have to go buy individual deer tags, individual turkey tags. They get the state max every season without any further action. Now, as of January 1, 2022, any tag that was issued by our joint compacting system or a tag that was otherwise purchased by a Cherokee citizen from the state is no longer needed. And so I think that when you look at the terms of the compact, it also required the same standard under law, which is state mag limit season date. Well, in this small little transition period, so to speak, from compact to no compact, you're still subject to the total bag limits for the season. Meaning, if you tagged out in December 31, you don't get additional deer in 2022 under our code.
Well, I just wanted to make that clear in case anybody tried to check a deer in on a state tag. They should probably just check it in on our system now that we allow archery, a deer through archery. So I guess that would take care of it, but if they did actually check a deer through, tried to check it through the state, they probably could be some ramifications, I guess.
I would advise Cherokee citizens not to utilize the state portal at this point in time, and that's part of the reason why we worked so aggressively to stand our portal up by the end of the year.
Well, that's, I applaud for what you guys have done. I mean, we tried to be good stewards, we tried to get along, and it didn't work out, and now look where we're at. We're gonna be better off than we were, where we probably could have been before, but being, good neighbors, it means a lot too, so, I applaud you for trying to get along, but then I applaud you for taking up for our citizens like you have. That's well done.
Well, and I will share that sentiment with my staff. It's in the success we've had up to this point is in no small part to their efforts. And I think we have good relationships with the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation. This is not their decision. And we're still in the process of meeting with some frequency to find common ground for our shared conservation standards and interests, which is something that we share equally. So I appreciate that.
Danny. Mr. Harsh, I got one other question. If you take your animal to be processed or you take it to a taxidermy, and will they still take it with our license without them not having to have our hunting license information and things of that sort?
They should, yes. And so, the standard by which a taxidermist or meat processor can accept game is that it was legally harvested. Under our law, if a Cherokee citizen follows bag limit season dates and other restrictions and regulations incorporated therein, it is our position that it has been legally taken. Now, just like with all things related to, transition from McGirt, as we transition from a compact to no compact, there's going to be some education that has to be had, and we're working on putting together outreach to help make sure folks understand where we're at. We're effectively trying to coordinate and communicate with our state wildlife officers because they are cross-deputized with our Cherokee Nation Marshal Service. So the answer to your question is yes, and we are working to make sure that processors within our reservation boundaries understand some of the intricacies and the details because there may be some miscommunication on their part as well.
Thank you.
Sean?
Just quick follow-up, Chad, so I understand. What the Cherokee and the 14 counties essentially has is a lifetime hunting and fishing with all of the bag limits and everything included. Am I getting that right?
I would say that they don't have an Oklahoma lifetime hunting and fishing licenses, but they have their blue card serves annually with the same privileges and that one would otherwise have if purchasing such license.
All right, I didn't catch that. Lifetime hunting and fishing license, every year you get all the bag limits, you can fish, following the state guidelines, right?
That is correct.
Now-
That is correct.
Now, this thing that we have with our blue card, we get all the bag limits and fish in the 14 counties, right?
Correct.
So what was the difference?
The only difference I'm trying to clarify is that, I don't want anyone who
To
may
think
be
this is
listening-
gonna last forever, probably. Is that the
No, I
thing?
don't want anyone listening in to think that if they live outside of our reservation boundaries or if they hunt and fish outside of our reservation boundaries, that they have anything, that could be misconstrued as a state license, because they do not.
14,
So if you're hunting-
14 counties, though, we're good.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Thank you for clearing that up.
Any other questions?
Up here.
Darrell, you're up.
Yes, yes. Hey, Chad, so, Cookson Hills Refuge, there's a lot of Cherokees that utilize that over the years, but I heard now that if you do not have a state hunting or fishing license, you are not even allowed on that property. Is that correct, or can you clarify any of that for us?
That is an issue that we're still working through with the state. So what the state generally requires for access to state-owned land is that you either have a license or that you have what they call a passport in our area, or a land access permit in some other parts of the state, particularly the Choctaw lands. They have asked us. I think this is the position that I think they're taking. Now, certainly, there would be no authority for a person with a Cherokee Nation hunting and fishing license to participate in a draw hunt system or something of that nature. So if the property is not open to the public for particular reasons, that translates over into the regulations that we've adopted by reference. We're still working through coming to terms of an agreement with the state as to whether or not we can work that out. So that would be my answer to your question.
You good, Darrell?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chad.
And for other questions that you folks may have, we've updated a pretty comprehensive FAQ section on the Cherokee Nation Secretary of Natural Resources website that walks through some of these issues. So that may be a helpful resource for folks that might be asking questions from your constituents.
Any other questions? Wes?
Just a quick question on, the game's gonna be transported on state, highway. Are these tags gonna be recognized transporting game on state highways?
In accordance with our law, this would apply within the reservation boundaries. I think that whether or not that game is being transported outside of the reservation boundaries is an issue that we're still trying to come to an agreement with on the state. It gets kind of complicated when you look at the state regulations about whether or not a take was lawful, because under our law it is. But just like if you take game outside of Oklahoma into another state, you have some type of parallel regulations that you have to be mindful of.
Yeah. I was always supportive of expressing our inherent right to hunt and fish our waters. I'm glad to see that through the failures of the negotiation compact with the state, we're able to utilize that now. It just would be, I'm sure you guys are preparing a legal battle, because I'm sure this is the reason why the governor of the state chose not to renew this compact, was to try to open a pathway to some sort of lawsuit against Cherokee Nations trying to express its sovereignty. So that's just what my concern is. Also the concern with, I think I heard Counselor Legg mention Cooks and Hills Game Refuge. It also falls inside of my jurisdiction as well, part of it. That being state land, something that I've kind of researched on too, is that might create that caveat there too, is just be mindful of our citizens that step on that property. It is state property, so it'd be falling under the purview of the state regulations. Just much like I've mentioned before, the game doesn't belong to me, you, or anybody else. It belongs to all of us. So whether it's in Oklahoma and then it moves through our reservation into Arkansas, that regulation pattern moves with it. So I would just fear that if a deer moves on to a state-owned property where it gets killed and we used a tribal tag on it, that's going to open that door and pathway from there. So, but I'm sure you guys are preparing those protecting our ability there. So, appreciate it. Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions for Chad? Got anything else?
That's all I have. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon, and
Thank you.
thank you.
Old business, none pending. New business, EO, will you take that?
Yes, sir. It's a resolution authorizing Cherokee Nation to grant an easement for a right-of-way and lift station across tribal trust land to the Tahlequah Public Works Authority for the Indian Meadows Sewer Line Project located in Cherokee County. I'll put this in form of a motion.
Got a motion and a second?
It needs to go to council tonight.
Go to full council tonight. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Announcements? The next meeting is tentatively scheduled for February 14th. I need one more motion. We are adjourned.